When did you do that?
I should do that every night. When did I do that? I don't remember. 6 months ago? 12 months ago? Year and a half ago?
The Wikipedia site on Kumbaya says the following.
Yep.
Kumbaya is a spiritual song from the 1930s. It enjoyed newfound popularity during the folk revival of the 1960s and became a standard campfire song in scouting and other camping organizations. And then this sentence. The song was originally associated with unity and closeness, but more recently is also alluded to sarcastically to connote a blandly pious and naively optimistic view of the world and human nature. Does that describe why you use it?
What idiot wrote that? I have no idea. No, I decided to use it because I remember the left always embraced that song. And I believe in peace. So in order to have peace, we have to destroy this enemy. Now, we have over 100,000 men and women in uniform on the battlefield today. And I'm sick and tired of people telling me they support the troops but not the mission. I get these calls constantly. They're repeated because they hear them from their political heroes on the left. No, you either support the mission and the troops or you don't. And those young men and women on the battlefield there, they're not Democrat, Republican, Independent. They're not black, white, brown, yellow. They're Americans. And if we can't support them on the battlefield, then we're never going to be a successful society. So I've seen this before in the 1970s against the Vietnam War. I see it now. It's the same element to me, same politicians in many respects. So I'm mocking them again. So I've taken this song, which is supposed to be an old peacenik hippie song, and I've turned it into a song pro-military, let's defeat the enemy. Other than my voice, I like what I said there.
Do you listen to yourself very often?
Never.
So you're listening to yourself now more than you normally do?
That's correct.
And what do you think of what you're hearing?
Brilliant. I'm absolutely brilliant. No, I'm kidding. I don't do that self-analytical stuff. I let the audience decide, and they decide every ratings book. I just keep plowing ahead. I don't look back and question, should I have said this or should I have said that, when it comes to a matter of principle. I'll do that when it comes to something like, should I have said something to somebody that may have embarrassed them? That's different. But in terms of my philosophical beliefs, liberty, national security, family, faith, these are things I believe in, and I can't be convinced otherwise.
Has anybody, and you know why I'm asking you this question, has anybody ever come up to you in the public and wanted to punch you in the nose for some of the things you say about them?
I get a few of these morons who do that, and then they say, gee, you're bigger than I thought. So they think better of it most of the time. At an airport, I've had that happen, but most of the time people are civil, if not supportive. I don't go on TV that much anymore, so my face is not necessarily that well known, and that's okay, because that way I can move around the world without really being bothered. But most people will give me a distant stare, or they'll come up and say, are you the Mark Levin on the radio? And I usually say, well, is that good or is that bad? Oh, that's good. And then I'll chat with them, spend a little time with them.
Randy Rhoads, who is as far left as you are on the right, says on her radio show that you are the brains behind Sean Hannity.
Well, Randy Rhoads is sort of a shrill yenta. She was on Air America, and nobody listened to her, and now she's on some other network. Sean Hannity is the brains behind Sean Hannity. I wouldn't be in radio but for Sean Hannity and Rush and a few others. And he's extremely intelligent. He's extremely personable. I don't think there's any brains behind Randy Rhoads because I just don't think there's any brains there, to be perfectly honest with you.
Did you ever think you'd end up being a popular radio talk show host when you started out in life?
Well, you know, it wasn't my plan. Now, as a kid, as a young teenager, I would go to bed with my little transistor radio on my nightstand, in Philadelphia, right outside of Philadelphia, listening to people like Bob Grant in New York and others, Gene Shepard. And I was really taken by talk radio generally, and talk radio in particular. I'd even listen to Larry King now and then when he had, you know, his conga line of guests coming and going, and it grabbed my attention. I I thought about it, but I really didn't have any idea on how exactly to pursue something like that, so I went in a different direction. And then as I got older, I mean, you know, about 15, 20 years ago, I started listening, and there was Rush Limbaugh. And that renewed my interest in talk radio, not in me doing talk radio, but listening to talk radio. And he's so good at this. I mean, he's such a genius. And so I would send him some things every now and then through his staff, fax things to Cookie, one of his staff people, on legal matters and constitutional matters as things would come up. And then one thing led to another, and I've known Rush 15, 16, 17 years now, and he named me the head of his legal division, gave me names, you know, F. Lee Levin and so forth, and he's a dear, dear friend.
What was the reaction you got from the audience that made you think that you could get, you know, do your own show? I mean, did you hear back from them?
Well, you know, I didn't know that I could. So when they asked me to do this Sunday show, I said, all right, let me feel this out and see how it goes. Really, well, the ratings went up. When they had me sit in after that Sunday show for part of a summer at 6 p.m. at night in New York, the ratings went up. So they offered me a steady job. It was 1 hour, then it went to 2 hours. Now they're pushing for 3 hours. So, you know, I have people call me, young people call me, how did you get in radio? And I tell them this: you got to be somewhere to have an opportunity. Now, a lot of people would say, you know, they wouldn't pay you to do a Sunday show. I looked at it as, hell, they're giving me a platform for free, 2 hours a week, the biggest city, the biggest talk show station in America. I should take advantage of that. And that really is the lesson. I tell my kids the same thing. Don't be, you know, look at the big picture. Think a little bit out of the box. Give things a try that you wouldn't give a try. And if you fail, you fail. And that's the whole notion of capitalism and freedom and all the rest. If you fail, you fail. That's okay. But if you don't try it, if you're not around, if you're just sitting in your basement dreaming, nothing's going to happen.
Here's a caller from Sierra Leone a couple of days ago. And before we get there, I mean, do you purposely go rough on a caller that you don't agree with?
I purposely try and get callers I don't agree with on. And about 1 out of 10 will be really articulate and have something very interesting to say, and I will engage. But I find we get flooded with a bunch of hack callers from time to time because there are campaigns out there pushing people to call us. And when you've done this long enough, you can tell really within the first 10 or 15 seconds what's going on, and I can figure out where they're headed in 3 steps. And you know, people who say, Mark, you cut these people off too fast. You know, I've done shows where I've proven that I don't, because I'll let these people go on and on and on, and if you let them go on and on, they will, and it's monotonous. And I figure if I'm sitting there as a professional talk show listener, because that's what I've been, really, and I'm bored, then probably most of the other people are bored, and I don't want to be bored.
This is 1:20. Let's listen. October 6th.
Jonathan, Washington, D.C., the great WMAL. Go.
Yes, thanks for taking my call, Mr. Mark Levin. I wanted to say that I think that John McCain is in lockstep with the biggest terrorist in the world right now, and he's ready to follow his policies.
Where are you from, sir?
What I'm saying is...
I'm asking you a question. You have broken English. Where are you from, sir?
I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa.
Is that right, sir?
Yeah.
And who is it that John McCain is conspiring with? Which terrorist is it, sir, by name?
The most Americans right now.
I'm going to ask you again. I said, which terrorist is John McCain conspiring with, sir?
The one that's killed the most Americans right now.
Oh, really? And who is that, sir?
And what have we gained for all the...
You know what, jerk? What the hell are you doing in my country? How did you get through security, you creep?
Trouble.
What are you doing in my country? Get the hell out of here, you dummy. Get rid of this guy. I don't need people coming into my country lecturing me and telling me that John McCain and George Bush are terrorists. No, you creep. Get the hell out. Open borders, my ass. No open borders.